Morning. I would like to share with you a little teaching today. I have a whiteboard, so you know it's going to be very serious and educational. There's this really important principle in the Enlightenment traditions that expresses that we have to go beyond pairs of opposites if we want to engage with the truth, if we want to engage with things authentically. That any time where you're seeing things as black and white, as separate in that way, then there's some kind of untruth hanging out. This is a practice in and of itself, right? Looking for dualities and seeing how they're actually part of one thing. Once we see things, once we see the unity of all things, I mean, that's a definition of enlightenment. Once we see the unity of all things, then it's impossible to try to pluck something out and say it's the opposite of another. Winter and summer, left and right, front and back. This is all just one thing, right? It's a year cycle. It's a hand. It's a human body. And so looking out for that in and of itself can be really fascinating and useful, and sometimes disorienting or scary too. In the teaching of the four bodes, which I'm going to go really deeply into on Saturday, we're going to do all these really yummy embodiment practices with it. But the teaching of the four abodes shows us that our pleasure and our pain are actually part of one process, and that our successes and failures are as well. So let's look at pleasure and pain. Sukha and Dukkha is the name for that in Sanskrit. And the teaching says when we experience Sukha, which is pleasure, we want to embrace it with Maitri, a sense of friendliness. Maitri also connotes sort of, think about what your best friendships, what they're like a sense of acceptance, a sense of, trust, and being seen and heard and felt and embraced, right? So that's the kind of energy and quality we want to bring when there's Sukha present in our experience, pleasure. And then Karuna means compassion, a sense of tenderness and care, a sense of responsibility for the well-being of whoever is experiencing the dukkha, the pain. So when we're cultivating Maitri and Karuna in the face of our pleasure and our pain, we start to see through the seemingly opposite, or seeing them as two opposites, seeing Sukha and Dukkha as two opposites, and we see that they're absolutely related. If we have a painful experience, the relief of it equals pleasure. If we have a really pleasurable experience and and it goes away, it can feel like pain. Look at the cycle of your digestion. That's just, and you see that the Sukha and the Dukkha are actually just ways that the body communicates to us about our needs. They're equally useful. I'm hungry. That could be experienced as a little bit of Dukkha. I eat. Oh, that could be Sukha, right? Or if you have like a food addiction or something, or there's some reason why you've got trauma around eating, maybe the eating also has some Dukkha in it while you're having the pleasure. Often, actually, they do come together. Say you overeat, and then there's Dukkha. Say you finally start to feel relief from that. There's Sukha, and so on. So looking for these, we start to see the Sukha and Dukkha just go kind of up and down. They're an experience. I just put green on my chin, didn't I? Great. So then we see the pleasures and pains of life just kind of come up and down in waves. That's just life. And this helps us get over this really, really tough spiritual misunderstanding or false story that is, if I could just accumulate enough pleasures, I'll feel good forever. If I could just avoid all the pain of life and just not really deal with any of it, right, then I'll be happy finally. I won't suffer anymore. No. You're going to have some sukha and you're going to have some dukkha because you got a body. Those things are going to be up and down. But what you can do, what you can grow, right? You're not just going to grow a bunch of sukha and eliminate dukkha from life. You're not. That's not the way the path works. But what you can do is continually, I have my other marker here, you can continually be growing your sense of trust, friendliness, right? Maitri. You can be continually growing, you know, and connectedness. And you can grow who you're friends with, right? One definition of the enlightened state is intimacy with all beings, with all things. Maitri, right? You can grow your karuna. You can grow your sense of compassion, not just for everybody else, but for yourself. Compassion is the healing force, right? So this stuff can be going on the up. It can be going and growing. And so our capacity for letting the sukhas of life kind of come and go and go, letting our pleasures go and not clinging to them, and making space for the fact of dukkha in ourselves and in everyone else. We do grow those capacities. That means growing wisdom, growing love, and growing in a direction toward enlightenment. So look at the same thing for punya and apunya, for the sort of good deeds and the not so good deeds, the successes and the failures. The process of learning, right? If sukha and dukkha kind of cover our like physiological processes, life process, nature process, punya and apunya are the seeming duality of our kind of cultural process, stories of ourself, the stories of what's good and what's not, and how we're sort of received by those around us. So look at how you learn. Look at how you've learned anything. Wisdom, cultivating wisdom is something definitely to be celebrated. That's mudita, to be celebrated joyfully when you grow wisdom. But how did you grow that wisdom? If you're anything like me, through failing sometimes. Look at a kid learning how to walk. And so this like a sukha and dukkha, right? We find that actually punya and apunya are part of one process that comes in waves. Sometimes we do an all right job. Sometimes we mess up. And these come and go in waves. I'm not saying that we don't accumulate greater and greater successes, but the personal experience of it stays actually around the same. You may have noticed that. It's like what I was capable of teaching 3 years ago, it just isn't what I'm capable of teaching now. But still, if I don't hit that mark, I'm disappointed in myself. Okay? So the experience of ourselves being, another translation of this is just virtue and vice or whatever. Our experience of ourselves being virtuous and successful versus the experience of ourselves not being so good or not so successful. These are part of one thing. So again, if you're trying to avoid failing and you're just trying to only have successes all the time, good luck. All right, we'll see how that goes. The ways to respond, right? Joy, to celebrate each other's successes, to celebrate your own successes, to recognize when you've done something really well. And when you do fall short, it's interesting. This teaching does not say it's not false patting yourself on the back. There's nothing false about it. All of these are authentic. It doesn't say, like, throw a parade for yourself when you fall short or you fall down or you fuck up. It says to see it with clear eyes. This grows wisdom. Upeksha grows wisdom. Equanimity grows wisdom. See it with clear eyes. See what went down. Be willing to look at it. Because that's the other thing, is often when I've failed at something, I want to then cover it up. I don't want to see it with clear eyes. I kind of want to pretend it away, push it away, or whitewash it. But I'm a good person, you know? Instead, it's like, oh, wow, look at that. I did do that. So Upeksha also gives us accountability, taking ownership over what went wrong. And then once we do that, right, we can grow and have and learn and have more successes. There's nothing that I want to celebrate more than somebody who has made a mistake and is actually taking responsibility for that and, like, showing up and saying, I want to do better. So what just happened? We just turned that apunya into a punya, into a major punya, a major something to majorly celebrate and uplift. It just happened in a group ceremony that I led the other night. Somebody really, like, owning some tough shit, and we were all so moved and so fucking proud of him, you know? And that came through, so that mudita came naturally for the punya that we saw, right? And because as a community we were giving that upeksha space, we weren't judging him for it. We weren't trying to belittle him. We weren't trying to say you don't belong. We were saying, oh, yeah, that wasn't great, you know. But we're here, you know, holding space, and lo and behold, right, the upeksha transformed into something worth a lot of mudita. So while, look, life is you're gonna stumble and fall and get back up. You're never gonna get to a place where you're not gonna fall down. You're never gonna get to, you know, it's like, you're never gonna get to a place where you see everything. There's always a new thing to go, oh, I get it now, right? That's the process of learning, and it's exciting and it's wonderful, and you don't want it to stop. That's gonna kind of go up and down. That's the life experience. But what you can increase is your joy. The joy when I see somebody who's doing an awesome job, that authentic joy, like, oh, I get to feel that. And that is growing. And upeksha, equanimity, and ability to kind of be clear and strong and understanding and wise, that grows. Right? That grows over time. That's taking us on a journey. Not away from our failures and not toward more victories exactly, but toward a greater sense of love and a greater sense of wisdom. Waking up. I hope you join me this Saturday or another time soon. I have another retreat in October, and we will be touching into some of this as well. We'll be going deep into a lot of Yoga Sutras. Yoga Sutras study, and you guys will be in silence for most of that. And I'll be just giving you these little teachings and yoga practices and meditation practices. And I just am so grateful this stuff really works. And I'm just so grateful to anyone who wants to hang out and share it with me and practice it, because we do have to practice it in community with each other.